All right. Hello, everybody. I think it's 12:30 Eastern time, so we're going to get started. For those I have not had the privilege and pleasure of meeting, I'm Scott DeRue and have the honor of serving as Dean as the Ross School of Business here at the University of Michigan, and I'm extremely excited to welcome the class of 2021, both this fall as well as many of you to this conversation. Thanks for taking time out of what I know are busy schedules to join us. I'm assuming that I don't see anybody using video, so I'm assuming you can hear me. Maybe one or two of you could come on video and just give me a thumbs up or speak into your mic and let me know that that the sound is working. But really excited. Caitlin, can you hear me? I can see Caitlin. Can you? Oh, no, I can no longer. Well, I will assume that you can hear me. Oh, sound is working. Thank you, Sonia. All right. So really excited to spend the next 30 minutes with you to answer any and all questions that you might have. I just want you to know how excited our team is to welcome you to the University of Michigan and welcome you to campus this fall, joining the Michigan family. So we've got 30 minutes, not a lot of time today. Want to get through as many questions as we possibly can. The format that we're going to use is a number of you submitted questions in advance. So we'll start with those. But using the chat function, if you click on the chat function there in Zoom, you can submit questions. And the way to do that most efficiently is to submit your questions to Michael Lippert, L-I-P-P-E-R-T. If you look in the bottom there, you can select who to send the message to. And Michael is in my office sitting here, and he will make sure that I get those questions in real time. Before we jump in, I just want you to know that one of the greatest privileges of my role as dean is getting to know you, our students. I've been at Ross for nearly 13 years, and I can honestly say that your class is extraordinary, incredible. Our applications this year, domestically here in the United States, were up, and from an application pool internationally, one of the strongest pools that I've ever seen. Our applications from underrepresented groups throughout the world is at its highest rate since 2003, 10% increase year over year. So the number of applications, the demand is tremendous. But what I really get excited about is just the depth and breadth of quality, the experiences and perspectives you all are bringing. It's exceptional, the quality of the application. Our class this year is going to hail from around 28 different countries, 6 continents. And I think on today's call, we've got folks from at least 8 countries represented. And as I've gotten to know you on paper, at least, the breadth and depth of experiences that you have, the backgrounds you have, the companies you're coming from are extraordinary. So it brings me great pride to know that we're attracting the very best talent from around the world and get the privilege of having you as part of our family. You're going to learn a tremendous amount from each other. And develop lifelong relationships, and it's our distinct honor to know that we're going to play a role in your career and elevate your potential and accelerate your career in really profound ways, and just brings me great pride. So thank you very much. So let's jump in. So I'm going to start with, like I said, a couple of questions that you all submitted. I'm going to start with a question, Sonia, since you helped me learn that the voice is working. I'm going to start with a question that was submitted out of Chicago by Sonia. And the question is, what tips do you have for us as MBAs the first 4 weeks of the program? Sonia, I'm going to reorient the question just a little bit and talk about what you can do now in the summer, as well as the first 4 weeks of the academic year. What I think you could be doing now is getting ready for Ross, really preparing yourself. I would encourage each and every one of you to find time this summer to relax and recenter. You've been working, you've had an extraordinary set of experiences, probably been working long hours and travel, and really this is going to be an opportunity for you to take a step back and get a sense of perspective and recenter yourself. I know for me, I keep a very busy schedule, lots of travel, lots of demands, and just making time for myself to just recenter and reconnect with my goals and values and aspirations is really important. For me, it's finding time to, whether it's run, or I was in Colorado this weekend hiking, finding time to just recenter and reconnect with why you're going to school, what you want to get out of this, so that you can be best prepared. in terms of your mental health, your physical health, and just your excitement for what's going to come. The first 4 weeks of school, I would say, I would have you think about 3 things. The first is connections. One of the biggest things you can get out of business school is the connections you're going to build, both with your fellow students, your faculty, your staff. And in the first month or so, thinking about how can you best invest in those relationships. You're going to be exposed to a diverse community of people from all different backgrounds and experiences. And you really want to be intentional and proactive in reaching out to diverse students across your entire MBA class, not just your MBA class, but the second years, not just the MBA program, but the other students here on campus, and really invest in those relationships and those connections. Create that diverse network that's going to pay dividends for many years to come. So that would be number one. Second, from a career perspective, some of you are going to come into business school not knowing what you want to do, and that's okay. Some of you are going to come into school knowing exactly what you want to do, and it may or may not change over the course of your 2 years. And some of you are going to be somewhere in the middle. And I would encourage each and every one of you to explore with focus, explore with intentionality. What do I mean by that? Let's take clubs, for example. I think in the MBA program, we have, let's say, approximately 75 or so clubs. And you could join none of them. You could join 1, 2, 3. You could join, as one student did several years ago, who I was teaching, 36 of them. That is not exploring with focus or intention. But at the same time, you want to think broadly about what experiences you want to have, because that's part of the reason you're coming to school, is to broaden your horizon, your perspective. And so from a career perspective, just come into this experience with the idea that you're going to explore, but with intentionality. And over the 2 years, you're going to find which pathways most excite you, that are best fit with your skills. And that's when you start to narrow in. So start broad, but not too broad, and then think about how you can narrow. And then, so connections first, the career second, and then the third would be courses, and just curriculum broadly. And you could throw the co-curricular elements in there as well. I think it's really important in those first 4 weeks for you to get off to a really good start academically, because that's going to set you up for success down the road. It's going to make other aspects of your time here, career, connections, the social side, just easier and more productive. So making sure you get off to a really strong start academically, I think, is really important. And the other thing I would say is trying to think downstream in terms of how you're going to personalize or tailor your set of courses, your academic experience, to allow you to explore with intentionality and in ways that will best meet your needs. This time will fly by, the 2 years. And so the more intentional you can be, the more proactive you can be in exploring and then creating coherence for yourself will pay dividends. And I think that's true whether we're talking about career, courses, or connections. And so, Sonia, I hope that's helpful. But those are the 3 elements I think through for the first 4 weeks. The connections, the relationships, the courses, how you personalize and tailor that, getting off to a great start, and then the career side of it, both in terms of how you think about exploring with intentionality, clubs, professional clubs, as well as the companies that you engage with. So that's the first question. Second question that was submitted that caught my eye was, what are you most excited about in business education these days? And there are many things. If you've listened to me in the past or read anything that I've written, you know that I'm an extremely positive and strong advocate for business and an advocate for education. I believe at a very fundamental level in the power of business in our society to create economic good, to create social good, and really to drive positive change in our society. And at the same time, I believe in education. I believe in education's ability to transform people's lives and create not only the capabilities and the connections that you need to excel individually, but to really open up the possibilities of what you can do as a leader in our society, whether it's in business, government, healthcare, nonprofit, policy, et cetera, et cetera. And if you put those two beliefs together, belief in business, belief in education, you really strongly believe in business education. And that's why I'm here, to be honest. And so I really have high aspirations for what business education can do in our society, locally and globally. And for me, when I think about business education, both here at Ross and beyond, there are three things that are really getting me excited right now. One is the impact that we are having in our society through the work that we do. When you're a student and you come to Michigan Ross, you're not only learning by doing, and we talk a lot about action-based learning, and that's our whole philosophy for how we design the student learning experience. But in the doing, you're having a positive impact in society. And that's really exciting. I think many of you will be surprised at just how engaged you are in our communities around the world through your Ross experience. And so not only are you learning and growing as a professional, but in the work you are doing to help you learn and grow, you're having a positive impact in our communities all around the world. And so we've really designed the Ross experience in a way that not only helps us develop the very best business and leadership talent, but in ways that are going to hopefully elevate and have a positive impact in society. So that's one thing I'm really excited about in business education, because not only are we doing that at Ross, but there are a handful of schools that are really taking our opportunity and responsibility as business educators seriously and designing the business school experience, if you will, around how can we have the biggest impact in society. The second thing I'm really excited about, and this is particularly true for Ross, is just how connected the education and the academic, the learning experience, if you will, of business school, just how connected that is to industry. This place is so connected to the very best companies around the world doing really innovative work. We're trying everything we can do to embed your learning experience and your educational experience here at Ross inside of companies that are doing really innovative and impactful work. And that not only has the obvious benefits of connecting you to those companies and helping accelerate your careers and opening up career opportunities for you and things of that sort, but it does two other things. It really helps elevate the learning experience in ways that we just simply couldn't do in a traditional, say, case-based education or any other sort of passive form of learning. And so that embeddedness in the educational experience is key. But then we, through that, are having an impact in those companies. I was just in Hong Kong the other day, and I was meeting with the leadership of Tencent. And Tencent, if you don't know, is behind things like WeChat and other payment systems, and is just one of the world leaders in technology today, and is really on the forefront of some really creative, innovative technologies that I think are going to have cascading positive effects throughout the world. And Michigan alumni have been at the leadership and the helm of that company for a number of years now, and that's really exciting for us. We've got Dao Sun, who I spent a number of amount of time with in Hong Kong recently, who runs a lot of their creative businesses, media, entertainment, things of that sort. The chairman is an alum, and just really exciting company. And it was really inspiring for me was just seeing how connected the educational experience, the learning experience of our students is to what Tencent is doing. We have students inside of Tencent every year, pretty much throughout the year, as part of courses and MAP and things of that sort. And that's just one of probably 200-ish examples of companies that are doing really innovative work where we've married the education with what they're doing. And so that's the second thing I'm really excited about, is just the connection to industry and how we're reinventing the business school experience to really marry or merge what's happening in the quote unquote what used to be called real world with the real learning that happens here at Ross. And that has all sorts of benefits for you, both in the short term and long term. And then the third thing I'm really excited about is just what's happening with technology, and in particular technology and the role that it's playing in education. Like every industry in the world, technology is evolving what we can do, what we have to do. And what I get really excited about is the opportunities it's presenting for Michigan Ross to reach new students, new learners in ways that we historically haven't been able to do, as well as provide value for you, not only in your 2 years here, but over the course of your career. So I know there are at least a few people on the call today from Deloitte, and I was reading a study from Deloitte recently that talked about the half-life of our skills. And based on research they've done, they're projecting that the half-life of a skill today is about 2, 3, maybe 5 years at most. And what that means for you is you're going to come to business school, you're going to go off into the world, and your first job out of business school, maybe you stay there for several years. But in that time frame, you're going to have to retool and update yourself with new skills. And we are positioning the school to be a resource for you, not only while you're here in the MBA program, but across your entire life. And that's a fundamental shift in how business education is delivered and the value that we can offer. And I think Michigan Ross is really on the leading edge and cutting edge of that with what we do with our executive education, allowing you lifetime tuition-free access to that, and what we're going to be able to do over the next few years in terms of technology and providing a really customized, personalized learning experience for you. No matter, basically think on-demand business education across your entire career. That's where we're going, and I think that's a new world that technology is opening up in business education that simply just didn't exist 5 years ago. So that's really exciting. So those are a couple things I'm excited about, and I'd love to hear what you're excited about because you're also coming to business school. So presumably you're excited about what's going on in business education as well. We've got a couple questions coming in, so I'll let Michael type those up, and I'll go to a third one real quick in terms of one of the pre-submitted questions, and that is from Jane in Denver. Jane, I was just in Denver yesterday, and it was absolutely beautiful. The question is the Impact Studio. The Impact Studio is officially launching this fall. And so what are some of the upcoming projects and how do we get involved? Great question. It's one of the things I'm most excited about at Ross right now is the Impact Studio. So when you come to campus in the fall, there will be a studio space. So think creative space, think studio space, and we'll have a space and it's dedicated to all of our impact work, using business to have a positive impact in the world, whether it be economically, socially, et cetera. So we ran a pilot this winter, spring, where we had faculty and students from across campus, so not only business school students. And the idea was in this pilot is we have some intellectual property that some faculty and students developed, which is essentially an algorithm that uses machine learning technologies to take publicly available data and identify which homes in cities are most likely to have lead pipes. And if you are familiar with the Flint water crisis or the water crises that are happening throughout the US and across the globe, a lot of it has to do with poor infrastructure and essentially corroded or lead pipes. And so we now have the ability to predict with great accuracy which homes are most likely to have lead pipes. And we rolled this out in Flint last year, and it had a huge impact on the city's ability to invest in infrastructure. And so we have this intellectual property. We have this desire to have an impact in society. What's the mechanism for that? And so we took a small group of faculty and students from across campus and said, what is the best way to take this intellectual property and scale it in a way that has the most impact in society? And we've got cities, not only Flint, we've got cities like Pittsburgh, for example. So cities all up and down the East Coast, as well as through the Midwest and a couple on the West Coast, who are interested in using this technology. But we don't necessarily have a way today to scale that and serve those municipalities. And so that was the challenge. And so the students got together and should it be a business? Should it be a nonprofit? Should it be open source software? And should we license it? All sorts of different options. And that's the idea of the Impact Studio. How do we take intellectual property from the University of Michigan and get it out into the world in a way that's going to best impact society? And the water crisis was the pilot for that. In the fall, we're going to have two projects. We're going to continue with the water, and whether that should be a business that we actually scale up and use as a living business, and our students have a role in participating in helping run that business, or whether we spin it out. We're going to continue with water as one project. And then the second project is going to be around financial literacy. And this is one of the topics that I'm really passionate about. We don't do society a good service in terms of helping people, whether it's young or older people, become literate in just financial acumen. And I don't mean corporate finance. I don't mean sort of complex derivatives. I mean basic personal finance. And so we're going to take on that challenge. And should we build it into a business? Should we create a curriculum that's rolled out to high schools across the country, across the state, whatever it might be? That's the challenge that we're taking on. The Impact Studio, all of this is run as a course. And so you'll be able to, when you get through your core curriculum and start signing up for electives, you'll have the option of joining into the Impact Studio as a student. And you'll work with students and faculty from across campus on whatever the challenges are that the group of students and faculty who are in the Impact Studio feel we can have the biggest impact with, given the resources here at the university. So the Impact Studio I'm really excited about. We'll have a physical dedicated space where the course and all the related activities can take shape. So super excited there. So we've got a few questions coming in, so let me turn to those. Katie in Chicago, with a possible looming recession, what are some resources Ross is providing to prepare us for re-entry to the workforce in summer 2021? Katie, it's a great question. I sit on the board of essentially a think tank called the Conference Board that does a lot of work with sort of macroeconomic issues, in particular here in the United States. And it is certainly true that some of the best thinkers around the global and domestic economy are calling for some softness in the foreseeable future. The best thing that we can do as Ross is to ensure that the corporate partners, the companies, the organizations, and not necessarily all companies, but the organizations that we work with that ultimately end up recruiting you all into full-time employment, that those partnerships and relationships are strong, and that they continue to hire at levels that ensure that your career opportunities are positive, broad, and deep. And so we've already started conversations with companies that we work with on what are their outlooks, not just for this year, but in the coming years, and how can we be partners in helping them work through any sort of economic downturn, what that means for talent, what that means for hiring, and ultimately connecting that back to you all. And it's my strong belief that as we add value and as we connect with those organizations and those corporate partners, if we've got line of sight into what they're planning, we can actually provide resources to you and help you understand what's coming and how you can adapt. I will tell you that despite people calling for a recession, which Katie, by the way, they've been doing for the last 2-ish years, and it certainly hasn't happened yet. We're not seeing a lot of anxiety on the part of companies, and not a lot of plans in the way of changing their hiring patterns. And so at least at the moment, the job market is robust, it's extremely strong, and companies are planning on it continuing to be so. If that softens, then we will know before it softens because of that partnership, and we'll adapt and make sure we're doing everything we can. We've got another question that came in around the Impact Initiative, the Business Plus Impact Initiative. And the question is it shows that Ross believes in student-led initiatives. If you all have been paying attention to what we're doing in a number of different domains, whether it's fintech, whether it's the impact space, a lot of what happens around here is student-driven, and that's intentional on our part for a number of different reasons. One is it provides a great leadership development opportunity for you all. Second is it makes sure that we're connecting with your needs in real time, because you're helping co-create what is Michigan Ross in your own experience. So the Business Plus Impact Initiative shows that we believe in student-led initiatives. If we have ideas for future projects, how can we engage with Ross administration and receive, if you will, funding or support, whatever that support may be, to help build those? This is where your relationship with the program team, The Associate Dean for the MBA program is Brad Kalele, the Managing Director, Sujin Kwan, and her entire team. The relationship there is critical. The student council, the MBA council, which is in effect the student government, that partnership is key. We even have some students that work with the program team to help identify issues that are on the horizon, and essentially almost like a little consulting organization that helps us think through those things. But we have if you will, an innovation investment process that I launched a couple of years ago. And my chief of staff, who's also our chief diversity officer, she oversees that innovation investment process. And a number of student-led initiatives in partnership with the dean's office and the program team come through that innovation investment process. So anytime we have ideas that are coming from students or faculty or staff that are, if you want to call more bottom up, that innovation investment process is there, and it's sort of your traditional stage gate where you got an idea, you get initial support for that idea. My question is, what resources do you need to build a business plan around it? Once you've got a business plan, how do you roll it out as a pilot or an experiment? If it goes well, how do you scale and institutionalize it? And so we've got that process really well defined. And I would like nothing more than you be bringing ideas to that innovation investment process that we get to support. And I would like nothing more than there to be more ideas than we could ultimately support, because that's how we're going to stay on the leading edge and really be an innovator in business education. For the last 3 years, we've been recognized by Poets and Quants as one of the 10 most innovative business schools in the world for every year for the last 3 years. And this is one of the reasons why. The partnership with our students and really the ideas coming from you all. So I know we're short on time. We got a few minutes left, and so I'm gonna do one last question. But I hope you know just how important it is from my perspective that you and I have a great relationship throughout your 2 years here. My door is always open. As you all have questions, ideas, your associate dean, your managing director, they're all there to support you. It's really a team effort, and we've got an unbelievable MBA team, both on the admissions side and the program side, and they're there to support. But know that you can always if you will, come to me as well. I'm going to do this one last question, which is, what can students do in the next 2 years, so as MBA students at Ross, to help elevate the brand and reputation of the school? Really appreciate the question. The brand, the reputation of the school is one of my sort of most important strategic pillars, if you will, and one of the things that we look at as really one of the most important things we can do, if you will. You are our brand and we are your brand, and it's really a partnership. So I appreciate the question of what can students do. I would say one of the things you can do, and there are many, but one of the things that I will highlight is just word of mouth and sharing just how great it is to be part of the Michigan family and the school, and leveraging your networks to help us attract great student talent, as well as bringing new companies into the fold that are going to recruit and engage with us on the educational experience. And so it is really a team effort. And so if you can help us in attracting the very best talent, everybody wins. Business schools, it's a people business, if you will. And at the end of the day, if we have the very best students and the very best faculty, magic happens, and the brand and reputation only elevates. And that's really been, if you ask me, our strategy for the last several years of moving rankings and reputation up and up and up. It's as simple and as complex as that. How do we attract, recruit, retain the very best people, students and faculty? And if we do those two things, everybody wins. So thank you. If you have questions, and some other questions have come in, our team will follow up on those questions, and this will be recorded as well. And there's also a segment that our team did recently called Preparing for Ross, or Getting Ready for Ross. And we'll send out a link for that as well that goes into some of the more detailed sort of logistics and administrative things that will be of interest to you. But no, this is a family and we're here to help. And so anything that we can do, we're more than willing. So don't hesitate to reach out this summer. Have a wonderful, relaxing summer if you can. Recharge, recenter, and in August we're gonna fire up and be ready. And words cannot express how excited we are to have you, the class of 2021, part of our family. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. I want to respect everybody's time. And as always, go Blue.